This is Mile High.
We have to do it better in order to move people along.
Up, down, inside out.
If you get your mind right,
it is not. It is a receiver of thought.
because love is my first technique.
It's now time for the show.
Welcome to the Mile High Podcast. This is your host, Dr. Daniel Knowles, coming from an elevation of 5,280 feet in Colorado, the home of Mile High. And I want you to make sure, if you haven't already, clear your calendar, mark it in stone or whatever it is you have to do to be in Colorado the weekend of August 16th to 19th. We're going to have an outstanding event. It's going to be the best Mile High ever. And also, I will say that the best time to grab seats for that is going to be before December 31st, because it will never be, at that rate again. So do that before the new year and commit to your calendar. We look forward to seeing you in Colorado, and rise up with us. If you are listening to this podcast and enjoying the podcast that we do, whether it be on YouTube or Stitcher or iTunes or Facebook, make sure you hit subscribe. We never want you to miss an episode, so that way you constantly can get fueled with TIC. And I will tell you, I've been talking off camera, off audio for the last few minutes with today's guest. I am so super stoked for this interview. It's going to be so much fun. We have the one and only Dr. Lou Corleto coming to us from South America. He's on a trip, and he's been on fire with passion for, turning on life all throughout the world. Welcome to the Mile High Podcast, Dr. Lou Corleto.
That's an honor and a privilege, sir. Thank you for the opportunity to be here to engage with you and to learn from you and to connect with your group and your audience. And for everybody that's listening, thank you for participating in ChiropracTIC and bringing your message to the world so we can enhance the consciousness of the planet and to help people remember who they be. Yeah, man.
So, and that's part of what you're doing. Your whole a big part of who you are is helping people remember who they be, and it's one of the things I love about you. Tell people, just so they can get an essence of what's going on right now, where you are and what you're up to.
Yeah, thanks, sir. So at the moment, I'm actually, Danny's at the Mile High elevation. I'm only about 400 feet above the ground. I'm at sea level in Buenos Aires, Argentina. So I just finished teaching and engaging a 4-day process of chiropractic, helping the chiropractors become better servants by understanding who they are and what their capacity is, to deliver the essence of the principles through the adjustment, through education, so they can go to their communities with courage and conviction, right? Because it's easy when we get into going to Mile High and being in a group of like-minded people is the greatest thing you can do. So sign up for sure before December 31st, I believe, for your rates. And when we leave, though, and we're back into our own islands, some of that place of, oh boy, how do I really... It's easy to speak our truth when we're among like-minded people. But when we stand up and talk about... So a lot of the folks, we were helping them, take that courage and conviction, even when you're the only one for... There's 20 chiropractors. Buenos Aires is 16 million people, roughly. 20 chiropractors in the city.
Wow.
And thank goodness they don't have competition going on already, right? So there's maybe 200 chiropractors in the entire country of 80 million people. Right? So when they leave and go back, most of them are really isolated by themselves. So having that courage and conviction to speak the truth and, to deliver the goods. That's been my thing. Helping chiropractors deliver the goods, the adjustment and the articulation.
And, one of the things we talked about just a few minutes ago, which I didn't know about you, which is, I think, amazing, is you're one of probably only a handful of people that have actually delivered chiropractic adjustments on all 7 continents.
Yes, sir. Well, what a blessing and honor that has been. I've adjusted people and shared chiropractic on all 7 continents, and that does include Antarctica. So, and so I'm just beginning. There's it's over 40 countries, 7 continents, And now that Elon Musk is heading to Mars, I'm on the waiting list to get up there, and so we're going to take it planetary and intergalactic.
Well, good, and that's one of my favorite Beastie Boys songs, so that's even better. So one of the things that is a big fire for you is helping chiropractors reconnect or recommit to TIC. And I don't care how long you've been in practice, whether it's your first week or you've been in practice in 20 years, because I've been practicing 20 years, you find moments where you're like, I got to recommit to the TIC or recommit to a different level. That I'm at this level, oh, wow, there's something more I can reach for. Talk about people recommitting to TIC. What does that mean to you?
Excellent. Matter of fact, there's a few people who have been out for one gentleman after the event. He sent me a private message saying, it's amazing. So we finished on a Sunday. He went back to serve people on Monday. And he said, this is a grand Monday because after 27 years of serving people through chiropractic, I'm now playing at a new level. So it's like I'm starting all over again. Right? And plus the excitement and the challenge because, oh no, this is working, right? It works. Meaning our doesn't matter if it's a year, 2 years, 25 years, we can also get into comfort zones because it works. The model, the essence, the communication. But as Einstein said, the only constant is change, right? Universal change. So unless we're constantly updating ourselves, growth, right? The constant evolution of self. Then when we do that, everything we do changes and shifts. So for all of us, one of my core principles for me and when I teach is we can't take anybody or we can't help anybody go any place we're not willing to go. So that, self-development on dealing with my stuff, the mentally, the emotional, the spiritual, the artistic, to keep evolving and growing, the understanding of TIC at the next levels, right? So yeah, here's the principles, but what do they really mean? Are they storied mantras or is it a living philosophy? Too many people so I challenge the group here as I do in many places, right? So what is the universe, what is the major premise? And everybody gives me the mantra, universal intelligence, but you can hear the tone, like they've memorized it from second quarter and it's just this annoying principle. Yeah. I said, okay, now how many people that have pieces of paper in your practice, like an entrance form that says auto accident? Right. I'm like, okay, now let's look at the congruency. There's a universal intelligence everywhere. So then how in an organized universe can you have an accident? So it doesn't work in my world. Right. It's impossible to have an accident in an organized, we might not understand it, right? So I call them auto purposes. Anyway, so those kind of challenges. Even looking at your paperwork, right? Is your paperwork congruent with who you are now? Because you might have wrote that paperwork 1, 2, 5, 15 years ago. Yep. So, what can we update, right? What we're saying, how we're educating our people, or what the paperwork is, whatever. Well, and I practiced for 20 years, same place. Actually same place for 18 years. And and I have a pretty rocking practice. I think many people would be like, this is the practice I want. And even like this year, I looked around, I was like, man, our practice needs to get some more soul, Right. And so that's getting to another level, and you can always keep growing, and the more you grow, the more you're going to bring practice members to grow to a new level and attract people that want to get to a different level than whatever the level is that you were at, right? So tell people, you just said you came off a program. Tell people about the programs you do. What were you doing? Well, it's this is an aspect of what I call delivering the goods. So it's helping people understand where they're at in their own, right? So it's not my version. Right. I share my version, but I don't get them to, equate my version. It's going here. This is my little evolution now. So, and then I get to share, my greatest mentor is Pasquale Cerasolo, as soon as I thought I knew something about chiropractic, I ran into this man, and I just wanted to throw myself off a bridge because I realized I knew nothing. Nothing. Even the original story that I was told in school of what chiropractic was, I thought was accurate. Right. When I met him, he tells me it came from the spirit world through, Jim Atkins. I went, wow! Yeah. And I'm like, holy smokes. So, yeah, the program was really getting people to get clear. What is your vision? What do you stand for right now in your evolution? Because there are some people out for a couple of years, some people out for 27 years, right? We have a mix in the room. So the 2-year person, what is your vision right now? How do you understand chiropractic to be at your evolution? You need to practice from that place. Don't practice from the 27-year place or my place. Practice from your truth now, and then keep growing into it. So then we just gently find out where they're at, support them to get courageous to speak their truth there, to get clear. One of the exercises I did with them so your community, you might want to do this. This is a really simple but powerful thing. If you could, so let's say, Danny's a lay person. We're going to cross paths. In my mind, I go, if I could only share 1 or 2 or 3 principles with this man, and I could never see you again in my life, what would I want you to know? And that was one of the exercises. So it gets them to go where they're at. So for me, the number 1 principle is I want you to know that you are the driver, not the vehicle. Right? You're the spirit, not the form. Because I know if you get that, no matter if we ever cross paths again, your life's going to radically change. Then the next piece I would like you to know is, as a layperson, obviously, I know you know this, is the greater expression of your life force, your innate intelligence, your spirit, whatever word each person uses. Not only does it automatically bring health, but it expands to so much more. Because now we're shifting into life and consciousness and your purpose on the planet. Number 3 is all processes require time. Give yourself time to heal. Right? And that you're responsible for your healing, but responsible from the place of the ability to respond. So then I take those and make them first person so that people read them that way. I am the driver, not the vehicle. So now they become, declarations, right? I am the driver, not the vehicle. I give myself time to heal, and I am responsible for my healing, which engages the person in the care. That was one of the things in my practice was, it's your life, man. I'm here to help you. That's not my, don't tell me about that. The messages you're trying to tell me, they're not for me. The messages are for you. So let me help you translate the messages of what your body's telling you, because they're your messages. And I think the greatest disservice all practitioners do, all of them, including chiropractors, when we try to take pain away from people, it's the greatest disservice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because very frequently, think about this. And this is something I learned from my dad. All right. Think about this. Lou, have you ever had a time in your life that was really bad, really traumatic, really challenging, whatever it was, and then 10 years later, 20 years later, you say, wow, that rough time, if that didn't happen, I wouldn't have got into this great time. You ever have that happen?
So multiple times. Multiple. Last week.
So like a person's distressing, whether it be physical or emotional or life calling to them, and you try to take that away, you may be taking away a gift that they're going to get 10 years down the road.
I hope, sir. I hope.
Right?
Yes, sir, for sure, at the highest level. And we still, so here's the thing that chiropractors want to bitch at medicine because they act this way. And so does much of the chiropractic profession, not the vocation, right? Not the people who serve ChiropracTIC as a calling, the vocation. But those that are in the profession are still practicing physical medicine, a lot of them. Right. Because we're using these natural therapies of manipulation to get rid of pain, right? Not adjusting to free up spirit to transform the world. Yeah.
Right. Totally. And here's the thing. That can be different inside our profession and outside our profession. I had someone just yesterday who had said, well, I can get this is the patient's word, right? Not my word. I can get adjustments and my insurance will cover it as long as it's not done by a chiropractor. Right? that's what the insurance company was. She's like, that's what told me. He's like, well, I can get adjustments as long as they're not done by a chiropractor. I'm like thinking, well, then it's not an adjustment. Your insurance company doesn't realize that, right? But many chiropractors are practicing physical medicine, so that's how you end up getting to that place versus really delivering TIC, right? So yeah,
and that's one of the things with this group and all groups, but this occurred just a couple of days ago was. Back to what I was saying about getting them that grounded courage when they go back to their isolated areas, per se. because it's easy to slide into the communication of where they're at, right? That's, a lot of people, well, just meet them where they're at. Well, I agree from a communication place, but you don't have to go down and meet them where they're at and then bring them up to where you play, right? People forget that part of the story. So meet them where they're at. If they're a mechanic, great, meet them where they're at and use, analogies around a mechanic so he gets it. Otherwise, we're miscommunicating.
Right.
But meeting them where they're at and talking about the symptomatic world is keeping them where they're at.
Right.
And that's the easy sell, right? It's the easy sell. Oh, sure, you got stuff. Well, come on in. And then we're into the bait and switch stuff, and then they wonder why people bail out of their practice.
Right.
Versus, here's the truth right off the bat. Does this work for you? Hey, let's play. If not, it's great to meet you. Next. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I had it's so easy to do. I had a new practice member yesterday with a kid, with a son that had some significant health concerns, and I was going over reviewing the results, and at the moment I was reviewing the results, mom and dad were both there. I said, you guys got both here, you're getting your kid's spine checked, I want you both here when I go over the results, and I do that, and I go over it, and after I explain everything that's going on with his spine and subluxation, the parent asks me, well, can you explain to me how what you're saying about the spine is causing his XYZ condition, right? Causing it, Right, and for me, that's like, you didn't hear a word I said.
Right.
And didn't get this, and I really want to serve, and I really want to help, and it would be so easy, I know chiropractors do it every day, to say, oh, well, don't you understand, Mrs. Jones, Mr. Jones, the subluxation of your atlas is what's causing your XYZ. And people do it every day, and that's just, it's not being truthful, right?
Right.
It's not serving their highest good. And so I just was like, well, I don't know if it is. And there's no adjustment that I'm going to deliver that, and they're like, well, is there adjustment that's going to target that? And I said, no, there is no such thing. That I'm not adjusting you to target this. We're going to get his nervous system to be free and let innate do the work, and staying in that place, right?
Come on, Nanny. I know you have one of those Merrick charts with the lights on it, and you push on it, and the nerve vibrates, right? It lights up, and it says, this goes to your liver.
Yeah, right.
Right? Yeah. And so, sorry, if there are any chiropractors who use those, don't take it personal. Apply the 4 agreements during this podcast, right?
Right, totally.
Don't take it personal, but do take it to heart. So if you are telling people that, hey, look, see this nerve does go there, this is what we're talking about. That's the easy conversation.
Right.
But in all actuality, it's out of integrity. Because you don't know that.
Right.
You don't know how that person's wired.
Right.
You have no idea if you push on that bone what that nerve's going to do to the liver or not. Let's get we've just lost that.
Right.
So, bravo, sir.
Well, and that's so important to keep raising the bar and keep upping your game and keep helping you recommit to a greater level of expansion. And so.
Yeah, BJ called it slipping and checking, right?
Slipping and checking.
Yeah, we all slip.
Slipping, it's just going to do this more. Now, you told me something else. You said one of your favorite quotes, and we're going to put this in the post there, is that when health is absent, wisdom cannot reveal itself, art cannot manifest, strength cannot fight, wealth becomes useless, and intelligence cannot be applied. Tell me what you love about that.
For me, it's just one of those succinct moments, right? So here's Herophilus, ancient Greek philosopher. So back in, chiropractic is named from the Greek language, right?
Right.
So when health is absent, and for me, the conversation we're having, and I even feel the description that Herophilus put in here wasn't health, right? Because health for me is the first rung on the ladder. We come out of survival, we go to health. Most people on the planet are looking to get healthy, like that's the end all. And it's just the beginning rung of the ladder.
Right.
Because then there's next levels evolution to, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
So, so when health is absent, wisdom cannot be applied. We can't express ourselves in art. I remember, the first year in practice, I had this woman who was a channeler. And I adjusted her, and she went, I channel better. I give messages from spirit to the people who pay me better because you adjusted me. And I've never had an insurance practice, but my thought was, how do you put that on an ICD code, right? What is that? 95.2 increased frequency tonal, So strength cannot, and he was I believe Herophilus was the physician to Alexander the Great.
Okay.
So taking that context, not supporting the conqueror of the world, but like, hey, Alex, when your health goes down, you can't think right, so wisdom can't be applied.
Yeah.
Your strength cannot be exerted. You won't be able to conquer the world. Take away the devastating, aggro part of it, but chiropractically conquering the world or lovingly conquering the world, right?
Yeah.
So we can't express ourselves. So art cannot be expressed, strength cannot be exerted, wisdom cannot be, and intelligence can't be applied. We're not accessing the essence of our neurology,
right,
when our health is absent.
And then you end up being
when we're subluxated, right? Our light's not coming through.
Right, and then you end up being Alexander the less than great.
That's right. Alexander the almost potentially good guy. Right.
Potentially great.
Right. Alexander could have been, would have been, should have been. Yeah. And how many times I've done that in my life?
History books then. So
So that's one of the reasons off the cuff that that just calls to me, like, okay. And for me, I keep periodically I look at it and I'm like, how do I get to understand that even better, more refined?
Now,
because there's some juice in that quote.
Now you have a book that goes over the difference between curing and healing, which is one of my favorite topics. Tell us about that.
That was funny because I don't even like, so I never, I don't take notes in the practice at all, zero. I practiced illegally for years because I didn't write anything down. And when Spirit's like, you need to write a book, I'm like, wrong guy, you got the wrong guy. I don't even write thank you notes. I have a lot of gratitude. So I surrendered into the process, put these thoughts together. And it was originally written for the layperson to get the concept of TIC out to the masses, because I've been blessed to share with chiropractors around the world to inspire them to up their game both through the art form, to access the system better, more profoundly, deeper, and gently, and how to communicate their message. That's been my forte. And then it was like, okay, but how do I get to the lay people? Oh, cool, book.
Right. There you go.
And so the essence of it was to take them through the journey of what we've been taught. So I grew up in an allopathic model, one of 9 kids. Mom's a director of nurses. 2 of my sisters work in major metropolitan hospitals. My mom has 24 grandkids now. I was blessed to kids because they're from Spirit, they're not mine. It was my job to teach them as they came. They were all born at home, never vaccinated. And so we had that intimate experiment, if you will, within the family dynamic. Those 3 kids were born at home, never vaccinated, never saw a practitioner, got adjusted, experienced life. None of them ever had their body parts removed, never had a pill, blah, 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 right? And yes, they've had their stuff, but they've evolved chiropractically.
Right.
And so the journey that I went through, and most people on the planet, the lack of remembering who we are, that we're broken machines that learn to think as spirits who created a body, and then given some of those examples of the outside-in model, inside-out model, mechanism, vitalism. And so, again, a lot of lay people, it's now in 4 languages, English, Spanish, French, and Portuguese.
Awesome.
And the thing that got for me, because I'm not a writer, so I had all the self-judgment around it. So it wasn't Lou the Great, it was Lou almost, could the book be okay kind of guy, was I had some practitioners that I love and respect read it and went, wow, this is good, man. And my dear friend that you know, Sue, who passed, Sue wrote a preface to it, and it was really honoring for me, Sue Brown.
Yeah.
And so it's I look at it as like BJ's the Palmer's Law of Life, right? It was the Cliff Notes version of the Green Books. So it's a thin book, easy to digest, but kind of like the 4 Agreements.
Yeah.
Simple to get, a little more complicated to live 24/7.
And you said also written in a context that lay people.
That was what the context was written, so it's easy for lay people to get, yet practitioners, it still challenges you about how congruent are you living these principles that we all talk about.
Right.
Because one of the things that gets me is chiropractors, tout, and all of a sudden, life scratches at their door. It doesn't even knock, it just scratches at the door, and they freak out and run back into the medical model. So how congruently are you really applying these principles? Do they work only when they're convenient for you, or do they work all the time in your life?
Right. And let's just go right to that title, healing versus curing. Can you give a brief description in your world about that?
Sure. So the curing aspect is so most people in the world, especially in the Western culture, create those terms, and it was done. So let me come up to the top of the food chain, and I guess, or why the book was put out in the first place. Thank you. And then I'll come back and answer that. So for me, the insidious, brilliant, but dark psychological manipulation of humanity was if I have a health challenge.
Right.
I'm a layperson now. So if I have a health challenge,
right,
it's under what category? All health challenges are under a medical condition.
Right.
Everything is under a medical condition. So therefore, I have a medical problem.
Right.
If I have a medical problem, then logically, who's the only person that can serve me?
Right.
A medical doctor, right? Brilliant, brilliant. So that's what traps people under that process. So that's the first part. It was insidious to get people trapped in that model versus let's flip the paradigm and it's just a healing opportunity.
Right.
So I have a healing opportunity. Now who can serve me? Anybody I damn well please.
Right.
If I want to see a medical doctor, great. If I want to see a witch doctor in the bayou of Louisiana, have at it. You want to go bungee jumping to explode your stuff? Dude, what works for you? What resonates for your personal philosophy, your personal growth, yada, yada, yada. So that was kind of the context. Then back to the definition. So curing is the symptom content, right? Just as long as the Band-Aid goes away, we're good. How many people have cancer in the United States? They do some kind of therapy, and their cancer is gone. Oh, really? Is it? Or have you just shoved it where nobody can see it anymore, and then it manifests later? Well, then you haven't healed.
Right.
You're just pushing the can down the street. And so then we can go through, once we do the model, you can plug any type of situation just to get people to look at their belief systems and go, hold on a second. Like in the practice, the first thing I would ask people, like, hey, welcome. How can I serve you? They would tell me, wonderful, this is what we do here. So let me ask you a question, please. In your opinion, where does healing come from, inside or outside of your body?
Right.
And that's my conversation. That's how I set the boundaries for conversation from that point forward. Because if stuff were to come up in the future about anything, hey, remember the conversation we had? Where healing comes from? It doesn't come from me. I can heal me. Can't heal you. But I can help you heal yourself better. Now, let's get you back into the driver's seat because it's your life. It's your life force. And you're the one that can heal yourself.
Right. Absolutely.
So that shift between curing and healing. And then I really go a lot deeper into what healing means, especially when chiropractors are adjusting. It's like, what is your intention during adjusting? Right? It's like, be careful with that.
Right. Right. And
does that answer anywhere you were going? I know it's babbling, but
totally,
1,000%.
And it's a difference between the illness world and the wellness world, and it's a difference between illness behavior and treating illness, or wellness creation and wellness behavior. And so those are completely different things. And curing, you can cure a ham, but well, as a practitioner, helping people be more whole is where it's at. And healing, the essence of that word, the root of that word is hale, H-A-L-E, and it's to be returned to your original state of purity or to be more whole, right? And so we're wholeness practitioners, right? So that's our focus is, and that's in creating that and expanding what wholeness is for that person, because wherever wholeness is for me when I was 20 is different than where wholeness is when I'm in my 40s, and because you expand. Unless you don't expand and you're shrinking, which is not really, a great way to go in life. Doesn't get you to be your greatest good or to be Corleto the Great, So, I want to tell people we're going to put in the podcast, we'll put a link to your book so people can grab that, which is awesome. I think that's great that you're doing that, so we don't have to, people don't have to try to write it down and get create subluxations while they're driving. We don't want to do that. So
right.
They'll get it there. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, let me just, sorry for interruption, but just to catch on that while it's sitting there. As a gift to your community. For the next 10 days, the link, I think I sent it to you. If not, I'll send it to you post-podcast. They can get it free. So they can either have the electronic version free, or if they want the physical book, they just pay shipping. It's like $6.
Awesome.
Either way they want, yeah. And
That's
so
great.
It's a gift for the community. You know, chomp into it, great. And if it doesn't work, recycle the paper, you know.
And that's awesome.
I mean, if it doesn't serve you, recycle the paper.
People to grab that, because it will help people recommit to TIC on a whole new level, and I'm very aware of that. So that's outstanding. And people can find you at, where can people find you?
Personal, the website is my name, loucorleto.com, LOUCORLETO.com.
Okay.
Facebook, same thing, name, loucorleto.com.
And now
beyond
I know you're a man on the go. So we're talking to you in Argentina. Where's next? What's on the calendar next? What's the next part of the itinerary?
So I love experiencing life for sure in all realms. All realms. That's me. That's my filter chiropractically, right? Because I don't have a hat that I take on and off. I go to the center, and now I'm a chiropractor, and I take it off, and now I'm something else.
Right.
This is me, and I am chiropractic as I walk around. So that's my life filter. And something else that I enjoy is back to the adjusting on 7 continents, which is a joy for me. I've also adjusted at 14,000 feet because I'm a skydiving instructor. So I've adjusted people in free fall. I've adjusted people at 140 feet under the water because I'm a scuba diver. And so, I just love exploring the world. So right after this, literally tomorrow morning, actually, I'm flying to the north part of Argentina to go explore up into the mountains and the deserts. Mm-hmm. And then 4 or 5 days, we're going to fly up into the Amazon, into Brazil, and to explore the Amazon a bit for a couple weeks, actually. Yeah.
Awesome. That's awesome. And that also reminds me of one other thing that you shared before we started this that I think it's important for people to know. You shared about the blossoming of a new chiropractic institution. Yeah. So why don't you share that real quick? Tell that story.
Sure, thank you. So as long as, while I was here too, in conjunction with while I was here, a gentleman by the name of Diego Molino, who's the president of the new college. It's called the Fundación Chiropractic para Todos, the Foundation of Chiropractic for Everyone. That's the name of the school. That is now in the city, Buenos Aires in Argentina. Mm-hmm. And they graduated initially because they were just working out of his practice, some other people's practice, as they were getting the official government recognition. Mm-hmm. So they've already graduated some folks. But this weekend, they graduated people out of the schools. So they actually have a building now with classrooms that they're teaching. And and they have a beautiful vision, and they're teaching TIC, and they're teaching beautiful adjusting skills. And so game's on. So I was with the, matter of fact, last night I was with the board of directors at their house. There's 4 of them. Doing Q&A about what they can do to take the teaching and the impact to the next level. Mm-hmm. And then I was working with a lot of their teachers and instructors and some of the students this past weekend when I was teaching.
Awesome.
Beautiful group of people who are in love with chiropractic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's beautiful. And the world needs more chiropractors.
In a big way. So connected to what you said about your dad teaching you in regards to the life experience that seemed initially was like, oh no, I can't handle this.
Yeah.
Years later, we get to look at it and say, oh my gosh, it's shaped my life.
Right.
So here's a cool TIC, story. The gentleman who created the school, let's see, almost 16 years ago, was in a motorcycle wreck. They called me. I flew down within a day and a half of the actual incident. So he's paralyzed from the nipples down, can't feel, literally no bladder control, no bowel control, laying in the hospital. Surgeon says if we don't cut off part of your spine, put in the rods, yada yada, you're never going to walk it again. Somewhere within him, he knew he could do different. He said no. He refused the surgery. So long story short, I fly down, I go in the hospital, start adjusting. Within a couple days, he's already starting to get muscle controls in his legs. By the end of the week, he's contracting his quads and wiggling his toes. We're like, game on. And flying back this was in Mexico where he wrecked. They flew him back to Argentina where he lives. A couple weeks later, I fly back, build an adjusting table, keep working on him. He gets up and crawls all 4s. 3 months later, he stands up, takes his first steps, and has his bladder and bowel control back. he is now fully abled, and he's the guy who now has a beautiful practice and has started the school. So what if he didn't fracture his spine?
Right.
Would there be a chiropractic school in Argentina?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are certain people that will graduate from that school that will impact someone else's life via an adjustment that will not have had that.
I hope.
Right. So
yeah.
It's all connected. And when you talked about the major premise, I go back. I don't know if this is technically philosophically right, but when I think of the major premise, I bring it back to two words. In Danny's world, the major premise means trust life. So that's what it is. Life is happening. We don't always understand it. There's organization to it, and we have to trust that the process is for the greater unfolding, even if it may not be what we understand or may not be in our favor at the moment. Right.
I dig that definition, brother. Nice and succinct. It's a lot easier to memorize too than the universal intelligence, right? Trust. Well, what your dad used to say was adjust it and trust it, right?
Right. Right.
Adjust it and trust it, right?
There you go. And also, chiropractic basically is built on this principle of trust. It's about trusting your body versus fear. Allopathy is based on fear for the most part. Chiropractic is based on trust. And, if you're going to have more impact as chiropractic, you've got to move towards more trust.
And so, yes, sir, and back to the top of the conversation you asked about what can we do to keep growing and evolving ourselves.
Yeah.
So chiropractors that are listening to this, don't take it personal, but do check in. Are you teaching wellness through fear?
Right.
Right? You need to get adjusted for the rest of your life because you're in stage 35 spinal degeneration.
Right.
Come on, guys. All right, let's pick up our game.
Yeah.
That's medicine selling wellness plans. Don't justify the dance when it's not clean. So if you're scaring people into long-term care just so you can brag that you have a high retention, come on, man. Let's get back to service, right?
Right.
And waking people up and loving them up.
Right.
Anyway, that's my stuff, right?
Yeah,
if it doesn't work for the people listening, hit delete.
Absolutely. So I want to thank you while you're on your international journey that you take your time out to share valuable stuff with on the Mile High podcast. I know people are going to love this episode. It's going to get distributed worldwide. And I really hope lots of people take you up on grabbing the book. The link will be in there, so don't worry about it. Go to the website, and it'll be on iTunes and so on. We'll have the link. And grab that. And also, we look forward to seeing people at Mile High, obviously August 16th to 19th. It's the center of the country, and it's a totally tick-centered program. There's very few really tick-centered events, sadly. And the thing that I always say, it's also the highest one. So
beautiful, right?
Nobody can take that away from us. We're the highest event in tick.
There
all
you
right. So see there, and you want to register at www.milehighchiro.org. Do it before December 31st, and that way you can get it at the best rate. And thank you so much, Lou, for just sharing your heart and being the light in the world that you are.
It's an honor and privilege, my friend, and thank you for the invitation to be here to connect with you and to share with the community. And ladies and gentlemen, just to wrap, because I know we want to close this episode, really take heart to what Danny just said about there are very few places out there that are still sharing tick. So if you've been to events and you're disappointed because you're not hearing tick, right? You had good marketing, but you showed up and you were disappointed. I get it. I've seen them. And I've been blessed to travel the world literally and travel the world within chiropractic. And there are very few places that are sanctuaries to support and share tick. And Mile High is one. So don't delay. Click on that link, get your ticket and rock and roll, man. Get back into the fellowship of the ring.
And fellowship and community with other chiropractors is such a big thing, and that's part of what you do, and that's part of all the programs you do is the fellowship. Without a doubt, you have to have community with other practitioners.
Yes, sir.
So thank everyone for joining us, and I'm gonna just sign off and watch for the next episode. They come out every week. You don't want to miss one, and so you want to subscribe. Thank you, Dr. Lou, for being who you are. Like our page on Facebook,
www.facebook.com/Mile High Chiro.